Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary, distinguished guests, welcome to Ridiculous, the Life of a Clown. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ridiculous, Life of a Clown. I'm Gherkin Picklewater, and I'm here talking with Kelly Holly, and I'll let Kelly tell you who she is and what she does. Kelly, who are you and what do you do?
It's so funny to hear you call me Kelly. I usually go by Texas. My name is Kelly Holly, and I am the director of camp and community engagement at Circus Center. I'm also a performer, and I'm kind of the keeper of community out here in my circle.
And Circus Center, tell us a little bit about Circus Center. Where is that? How long have you been there? What do they do?
Circus Center is a training facility here, but not just a training facility, but it's here in San Francisco, California. And but we train professionals and recreational students, children and adults. And I've been at Circus Center, let's see, I moved out here to train at Circus Center and to take classes back in 2004, so not quite 20 years. And I've been teaching off and on probably, let's see, since 2006. So yeah, a good while.
Yeah, I mean, we worked together for a while at Circus Center, you and I, in the office. And that was at least 10, 12 years ago.
Yep.
Maybe longer. So what is it you do now? Can you tell us what your job is and what it entails?
Sure. Of course, I run the summer camp, and I've been doing that for a long time. But recently, I've taken on the role of director of community engagement, which I kind of come by honestly. I never intended to be here or to be in this position. I never really thought too much about being a community organizer, or I never really thought too much also about inclusion and equity and all of that until I came out here to San Francisco and met and started collecting crazy old ladies. I have a crazy old lady collection, and that's kind of what brought me into the world of community building. And so I run our outreach program, because a lot of community building and equity in communities is focusing on marginalized communities who wouldn't otherwise have access to Circus had it not been for myself and my staff being inclusive.
That's really cool. So that's a fairly recent addition to your oeuvre of the things you do, yeah?
In an official capacity, yes, yeah. But I've always kind of been, even though I didn't know it, it kind of suits me, and I'm
nice.
Yeah, it was a pretty easy thing to take on.
I've always tried to be a community engager and a community builder, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment. So I have a lot of respect for that.
Thank you. I mean, you're pretty good at it, I have to say. You come by it honestly too, and you enjoy it. I can tell that. So you're good at what you do.
Well, thank you. We both like each other.
Yes.
So tell me about the ICCE and the conference in Riga.
Okay, the conference in Riga, I was invited to go out and give a keynote speech out there. And so I gave a 30-minute keynote speech along with two other people. And my speech was about inclusivity in circus. And I also led two workshops in community building. So it's kind of a round table where we would all talk and pull out, it was a room full of resources. So we were trying to help solve each other's problems. And I, even though I was facilitating and leading the workshop, I learned so much from that. It was great. And then we also, I did a podcast out there with the Riga Circus archivist. Riga Circus, they have a building out there, a big, massive, amazing circus building that was built, I think, in 1888. I think it's one of the oldest circus buildings in Europe. It was awesome. And it's under renovation right now, but they gave me a tour of that building, and was very, very cool. Just the history there. So
So circus building, you mean like a performance venue and school and so on? Just what all does it encompass?
well, originally, I mean, it's a big, I was given a tour of the dome. So there's the big performance arena in the dome, and she's Elvira is the archivist from Riga Circus. And she showed me where they used to keep 4 elephants, and where they used to keep this, that, and the other. So there were animals there, and it was the local circus venue. And now they're renovating the whole building, and also incorporating a circus school for kids.
Oh, that's great. I think a lot of people don't realize, just a lot of people who are in the U.S. I mean, a significant portion of our audience is in Edinburgh, weirdly.
Okay.
Yeah, but in the U.S., I think a lot of people don't realize how big circus has been in the rest of the world, especially in Europe, for the last number of hundreds of years, since the late 1700s when it was invented by
Yeah.
Philip Astley.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I had this idea, this concept that America is a pretty, young country, but you don't fully grasp it until I went to Riga and saw history out there, like, and this, I mean, old buildings. It was really eye-opening and very informative. It was amazing.
So, and you said Riga's in Lithuania?
No, Riga is in Latvia, which is
Latvia.
right, situated in between Estonia and Lithuania.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the ICCE. What is it and what do they do?
They've had this conference for a little while now. This was the first time I had been introduced to it, but the International Conference for Circus Education. And they basically bring people together to discuss circus education and other community ideas and things like that. There were 3 main topics that were covered. One was inclusion in circus education. The other was physical literacy and how we teach movement and so forth. And the other was hold on. Oh, creativity and creative thinking, or creative being.
So, well, tell me a little bit about the workshops that go into a little more detail about the workshops that you took part in and what you took away from them.
Okay, it was interesting because when you talk about inclusion, it's important to think about marginalized communities, but marginalized communities in our country tend to look different than marginalized communities in another country. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different. So we had people from various backgrounds who were trying to engage their communities, but with specific barriers or specific problems and challenges. But with this bank of knowledge that we had gathered in a circle there, we popcorned ideas and came up with some solutions. And it was, some of the takeaways were that, sometimes you can gather your community, or it's better to gather your community with circus aside. I mean, depending on what your community needs. They may need a performance in a workshop, or they may just need food delivered, or various other things, and just different ways to some communities, or these folks were engaging via social media, but some others found that it was better just to go and talk to people, hang out at the pub, and things like that, and different things we could offer. We also, let's see, what else did we discuss? It was really interesting. The term social circus came up, and some people, there were 2 kind of a little bit like triggering words for some people out there. After a while, I think we just wore out the word community, and it began to take on this kind of like, a little bit of a eye roll, kind of a negative sort of thing, where it's like, what if I don't want to be a part of the community? Well, and the difference in being placed in a community and stereotyped in a community, and not your choice maybe, or to be and then wanting to be a part of a community, and included in that regard. So it was, and different motives. from people within the group. It was really, yeah, it was great. And then we talked about marginalized communities as far as elders and how sometimes they're overlooked and the need for circus there. Also talked about people with disabilities. There was a lady in the group who worked with Extraordinary Bodies, which is a company in the UK, I believe, and they do a lot of circus. She was an aerialist, but blind, and so she had a lot. This was Karina, was her name, and she had a lot of insight and interesting information to add to the group. It was really cool.
That's amazing. That's really cool. You don't happen to remember her last name, do you?
Not off the top of my head. Oh,
I'd like to look up her stuff. So tell me a little bit about here in the States and your work at Circus Center, doing inclusion and equity and diversity. How do you reach out to marginalized groups? What is it that the Circus Center does to build that community?
okay. Actually, I can speak to that. We're doing a lot. We have a site over in the Tenderloin. It's funny because in the past, we sometimes have avoided the Tenderloin just because it's a rough neighborhood over there, and it's a neighborhood that's currently struggling. But now we wouldn't, Circus Center and my team, we wouldn't dream of excluding that neighborhood. That's our neighborhood that we've chosen to embrace and really and serve. And so we have a program over there that runs in the Tenderloin Recreation Center. We partner with Up on Top, which is our lead agency over there, and through grants from the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And we also partner with Rec and Park over there. And so we work with kids from Glide Memorial. We work with the Tenderloin Action Group and a bunch of other organizations and CBOs, or community-based organizations. We participate in a teen night there, and so that's a lot of fun. It's really cool to get teenagers involved in stilt walking and acrobatics. It's really great. And then we also do Sunday Streets, which we go from neighborhood to neighborhood every month, and just bring circus out there to the masses. And that's where we're at. We're busy people.
Oh, very cool. And last year, wasn't Circus Center doing a thing with Felicia Said doing pop-ups as well?
Oh yes, actually we did an event here recently as well at the band shell over in Golden Gate Park.
Oh yeah.
And it was a big community event, and it was it was the first event that we had done in a while, and it was really great to be outside and see all the people. And yeah, it kind of, I wasn't around during the Make a Circus days, but I get it why that was such a thing here in the city, because it was really wonderful to be out there with such a big audience and such enthusiastic people. So
well, and your collection of old ladies, they had a lot to do with the founding of Circus Center and Make a Circus itself, yeah.
oh yeah, that's how I came by my role altogether, because I thought, it's funny because I thought I was just getting a pair of clown shoes, and some coaching hours, but really these women were teaching me how to take care of the community. And speaking of like Judy Finelli, it was interesting too, because I thought, oh, in clown school, I thought, well, that's really nice of, like, who is this lady we're taking care of? Who are we wrangling? And I thought, well, that's really cool that Jeff gave her a job and he's doing her a favor. And I was like, no, he's doing us a favor by having her on the faculty. And because Judy Finelli is a bank of knowledge and is an amazing coach and a writer and director and all those things. And it didn't take long for all of us to figure out, what she added to all of our work. It was, she's just amazing. So she's in my collection.
Yeah. But Make a Circus, you also had, wasn't Joan part of Make a Circus, and Paoli?
Yep. And Peggy Ford, Joan Mencken, Paoli Lacey. Yeah.
And there was, I'm stretching my memory trying to recall, but it was how did Circus Center come into being? Do you recall? Because there's a correlation between the Mega Circus and Circus Center coming into being. Like, there's a lot of overlap in that Venn diagram, but I don't remember the specific details.
I I know bits and pieces. I think I'm kind of like you, where I think there it was a tough time to run a circus as such. It still is a tough time to do that, but they were a big, very, like, such a well-oiled machine with a lot of, and they did a lot of work out in the community and a lot of shows, and they were busy. And but I don't know all the specifics, but about the time I think that they started kind of to wrap it up. Is that, maybe that's when Circus Center officially started? I remember, I'm not sure without.
I think they were sharing. I think they were sharing resources at some
Yeah.
point around the time that Circus Center came into being. Was around the same time that I think Mega Circus stopped being shortly thereafter.
Well, but it stays with people though. I got a letter. I didn't get a letter. Peggy Ford got a letter, and it came up to Circus Center. And since she's passed away, I opened it and I read it, and it was from a gentleman who he's still here in California. I'm not sure his entire history, but he remembered every single person from his year of Make a Circus, everyone's name, what they did, what role he played in the show. And I wrote him back and explained to him that Peggy had passed away, but that he still had a home at Circus Center. And I found a copy of the program from the show he was in, and I sent it to him. But that experience stayed with him, and it was really remarkable. It's really lovely. So I have a new pen pal.
Nice. Um, so you're a clown.
I am, yes.
You're a clown, and you're a clown first before you got into all of this.
Yep.
Yeah. So how do you balance that? How do you balance performing and working on the side of circus that you work on now? Where do you find the time to do both? And do you feel like one feeds off the other or takes away from the other?
Wow. Yeah, all of the above. It's a tough thing to balance because here in the United States, as I learned, is very different from over in Europe. Um, I'm like myself, like a lot of people, end up doing not necessarily what I would consider a regular job, but because my job is, working with the circus is still not necessarily a regular job, but it's I need to do it in order so I can still perform on the side. And so that takes a lot of my time, and my focus has shifted from performing. I still do shows. I do your show. I do the show at Circus Center, and a lot of gigs here and there. Um, yeah, so it's a little bit of a split of time, but at the same time, clowning in general is more of an outlook and a way of living, and somewhat than it is just something
So
yeah.
how do you think Peggy would feel about that specific sentiment?
About what? About.
Clowning being an attitude more than a because her one of the things that she commented on many times was yamas.
Oh, right. I mean, well, yes, at the same time, I mean, I don't know, I always have Peggy sitting on my shoulder saying, you should be performing, don't let your other stuff, your teaching or your admin work, don't you're this just to get by, or just to make sure, because over here we have to do that. A lot of performers have side jobs, but as far, I mean, she, yeah, it's a very specific way of thinking about clowning. But I think that she managed to find the ridiculousness in everything, Paoli as well. And that's just part of who she was. And when I met her, I was like, I don't meet these kind of people back home. I have to stay out here in California. There's a lot of
And,
extra
and
fantastic weirdos.
Peggy was amazing, and Paoli and Joan, I considered something of a mentor. Um, yeah, I always worry about that balance too, about trying to find the equilibrium between being a performer and being able to live, you know,
All
and
right.
looking at what, at least back when we were in clown school, circ performers made, and realizing it's less than I make in my straight career, and just how do you make that? How do you pursue the dream that can't pay to keep you alive? That's just,
Right. Yeah. And when I was over in Riga, just talking with other people over there, at a certain point, I just had to stop comparing myself or comparing the way it is over there and the way it is over here, because it was just like apples and oranges. And it was just, yeah, because it's just everything over there is different. I met a lot of producers who were just producers who, I mean, I said, "Oh, are you an artist producing your own work?" No, okay, you're big company with like a lot of money, a lot of funding. Like I'm just a producer. That's just what I do. And I was like, okay,
where did it get their money then?
right. It's everything. I know. Everything is like healthcare. It's all different, and the way it was. Yeah, it was. I could have. Yeah, it was interesting though. But at some point, I was like, you know what? I just have to stop comparing.
As a producer in air quotes myself, um, yeah, it's I don't know a lot of dentists, so I'm not very good at it. I mean that's where you get your money to make independent film and so on is people in those those careers where they're taking care of your luxury bones and making a lot of money they have no use for. Um, so yeah,
It's a different system, and priorities, values are, and just a different, it's all so, yeah, it's really interesting.
so what's next for you, and separately, what's next for Circus Center?
Well, um, we're trying to grow our program, and we actually, and just trying to stay connected with, and connect to more people, and just grow our program, and do more. I would definitely like to have a stronger presence outside of the United States as far as our connections, and like keeping community outside of the immediate area. So that's part of it. I think also, I mean, we have new donor who I just recently met. It's out of Las Vegas, a producer, speaking of, that produced three of my favorite shows out there. And so just bridging connections and finding more ways to be involved. And as far as Circus Center, we do a lot of shows. There's a lot of shows happening up there, and then and growing the programs as well. We're just about to burst at the seams, I feel like, out of our building, because there's only so much space, that we have up there. So
Is Acro Sports still down the street?
yes, they are.
That's too bad. That'd be another great building for you guys. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think it's Acro Sports, but it'd be great to have that building.
Yeah, actually, and yeah, that building's really, really well maintained. We recently had someone come in and do a kind of an assessment of our building, and that's in the works, as the building. It would be great if someone wanted to donate a big, fantastic building somewhere here in the city, like a new building. So
That'd be lovely. And they can reach out to you if they decide to do so.
oh, yeah, sure, anybody, yeah, anybody at
What's
Circus
next
Center.
for you, though? What's in the future for you?
I personally, it's time to create some new material, I think.
Right. I'm right there with you because I've got my like 4 things that I do regularly, and I need more stuff. I need something new, something. I've got this show where so much of it falls on the shoulders of the improvisers to come up with variety acts, and there's only 3 of us really who do variety acts, so it's going to get stale quick.
Yeah, I'm specifically interested in some more storytelling and some more spoonerisms. I love spoonerisms, and also a solo show, hopefully. It's kind of in the works.
Oh, that's very cool. Are you working with a particular director? Do you have someone in mind?
Not yet. Well, I'm collaborating with Sarah Moore or Toby, and and kind of putting all of my things that I've collected and have in my back pocket over the years into a show.
That's very cool. I've also for a while I've had the thought about doing a one-man variety show, just
Yeah.
because that would
Well, yeah, you should.
cover the gamut of the stuff that I can do. And I just have to find more stuff to stuff into that shell.
You have more stuff than you realize, I think.
No, maybe.
Yeah. And I'm dying to become an auctioneer.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Are you pursuing anything to become an auctioneer?
I'm studying drills before I go off and maybe take some classes. Yeah.
That's very, very cool.
I'd like to be like a yodeling auctioneer.
So you and I have gone to a couple of Cirque du Soleil auditions together.
Yes, we have.
To varying levels of success, but we both had some positive feedback on Cirque. Now that Ringling is coming back with the Cirque model, is that something you're thinking about trying to pursue?
Probably not. I tend to not be so family friendly. I don't know. I mean, I can be if I need to be, but yeah, I don't know. And well, yeah, I'm not sure.
It's something that I've talked about with the significant other, with my spouse, about the idea of spending a year touring with the circus would be really a wonderful thing to finally get to do.
Are they still doing like traveling? Like,
I don't know what they're going to do. I don't think they're doing the train anymore. I think
because there's an awfully small train, awfully small area for you and your spouse.
Yeah, and it would be just me going off by myself and leaving my spouse and future child alone while I traveled the whatever is happening with. So it's something that we've talked about, not something that we're planning on. And they're still getting the gig. It sounds like they're not going particularly clown heavy in this show. That maybe again much more akin to the Cirque model.
Like contemporary circus is really a big thing right now.
Yeah,
for sure. And I feel like contemporary circus tends to, you're right, not be as clown heavy. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I know that's that way over in Latvia too, when we were talking about circus, and they're very over there, very, very into contemporary circus, and it's
interesting. I didn't realize there was a specific term for it. Contemporary circus. I mean, it makes sense. It fits. Okay, well, before we wrap up, anything that you would like to plug or make sure people know about?
Oh goodness. Circus Center's got a show. It opens June 10th. It's The Secret Garden.
Nice.
And Felicity's directing that show. Felicity has said, but there's a lot of some of the faculty, some of the kids, some of the professionals. It's going to be a great show.
It sounds amazing. And they can find that at circuscenter.org?
Yes, they can. Okay.
And where can people find you or find your work online if they want to see what you do?
Oh, it's time to create a website for me, Abraham.
Okay, well, I can help you with that. We'll talk about it later. Okay, well, that said, Texas, thank you so much for being on the show. And best of everything to you forever and ever. And,
thanks for having me.
And everyone check out The Secret Garden at San Francisco Circus Center starting on June 10th. All right, bye guys.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Ridiculous Life of a Clown. If you enjoyed this program and you'd like to get more of it, please consider sponsoring us on Patreon at patreon.com/picklewater. For as little as $1 a month, you can help make sure that this podcast keeps coming to your ears on a regular basis. Theme music by Kevin MacLeod.